I just want to talk about ReZero,
Okay.
and just we can mention how that affected it.
ReZero. Oh, so you mean REM? I
Of
get
course, of course,
it.
we're gonna talk about Rem if we can't. Like this whole season came out, and the thing that people are talking about in Roblox is Rem. Rem wasn't even in the
mm-hmm.
season.
Mm-hmm. And like, it's the REM freaking whatchamacallit, the REM the ReZero fan base. Literally, I said like literally just all the posts there are just REM fan art or uh
The Rem fan
the Witch of
base.
Ekidona.
Yeah. Hey guys, what's up? Seven Stop here. Welcome back to another video, and today we're just gonna make this video, slap some gameplay on it, Phantom Forces, and review ReZero Season 2, because that just ended.
Yeah, it
And
just
talk
ended.
about why we actually think this is worse than the first season, even though I still
Yeah,
think it's really good, but it's worse than the first season, and a lot of people are saying that it's better. At least that's what I've been the feeling I've been getting
yeah, me
from most of
too.
the community and people online. But I think that season 1 was a lot better.
Yeah, me too. I really like this. I don't really like it. I liked it. I still think it's good, but I don't know. It's just I said I was just kind of disappointed by the by like how kind of maybe not it wasn't super hyped up, but I mean like it took a dramatic like shift in like kind
Yeah,
of
the tone, and
yeah, the tone kind of
it
shifted.
was still similar, but like it focused on different stuff. But I felt that the reason that it wasn't as good was just because it was mainly a setup. There was no payoff.
Yeah,
It was just
like I kind of
it was all of the setup with no payoff.
yeah, it's kind of like even though Attack on Titan season 2 had a little bit more payoff, I think it's kind of similar to that where it's like it's building up all this stuff so that way it'll
Hmm.
pay off a little later.
And I think the second part could be really good, but we're only reviewing what we have right now. And
Yeah, well,
based
this
on and
is
like
what we have.
just based on this what we have, I don't think it's as good as the first season.
No. All right. So yeah, let's go ahead and all right. I want to talk about the first season. So the first season, you start out, you get introduced to the world, you get introduced to the characters, you understand how the system works, you get what's going on, you get what's you don't necessarily understand what's going on with Subaru, but you know he has this power and he's gonna use it, and
Hmm.
he uses it, and then he faces off this bad guy and he beats the bad guy. Hooray!
I think
This
that
season is a
wait,
lot more. Oh,
season
continue.
1 had a really good hook and opening. One of the
Yeah, it
best
did.
I've seen. Like it gets you straight into the world and into the story without really delaying at all.
Hmm.
And it was a great hook. But in the second season, it kind of meanders.
Yeah, kind of just they just do stuff
Yeah.
like in season 1. He keeps on he keeps on dying, and each time he finds a different way until he finally finds the correct way. But in this one, he just keeps on dying over and over and never finds the correct way and starts out. It feels like he's going like different. There are different like path lines and
Uh
different
huh.
roads he can go
It
down.
kind of was like that in the first season. Like he would encounter an obstacle, and then he would encounter if you consider the last half with the white whale and that part at the end with the witch's cult, he was encountering a lot of different things, but they felt more purposeful and like they were actually leading to how he would solve it. But in season 2, it felt like there was a lot of stuff happening that didn't really relate. Although with that last episode, they kind of tied it together more because Rosewall sent those people to the mansion and stuff. But it still
Hmm.
felt kind of like things were just happening and they didn't really have a purpose. They weren't really leading it to anything. I mean, I'm sure they are
Yeah,
leading to something, but the way the plot flowed didn't really make it feel like that.
yeah. Like the he goes through the first trial, speaks to his parents, and that episode's personally probably one of my favorite episodes, if
Hmm.
not my favorite episode of season 2. And he talks to his parents and stuff, and it just kind of yeah, that's it. No more. It's like,
Yeah.
well, oh, okay, and it feels like a lot of stuff. Again, it feels like there's this term in writing, like Chekhov's gun. Like you put it if you mention that there's a rifle on the wall, and if you mention there's a gun or something like that, the rifle it has to do something. Like if there's
Yeah.
something that happens, it has to do something. And it feels like we didn't get that, but again, it's because it is set up.
Yeah, it feels like they put all of the guns on the wall. They just put like 60 guns on the wall, and there's a bazooka, and they lined up a tank, but they didn't shoot any of it. And then they're
No,
just
they're
going to
just
shoot
like,
it
all right,
all in part 2.
yeah, or just put more stuff in part 2, and then in season
Yeah.
3 just
What every episode, it felt like they were just putting more guns on the wall. But
It
but they
does.
weren't firing any guns. So the guns were just stacking up. And also another issue is that it was so complicated. We'll talk about this a little bit. Like it was so complicated. There were so many things happening. There's lots of plot threads. There's so many names and titles of locations you have to remember. And when you're watching this week by week, it gets incredibly annoying when they reference stuff that happened a while ago and you can't remember it, and you're like, what are they talking about? What's going on?
Yeah.
Should I be remembering this? Is there something that I don't remember that would make this more clear?
Yeah, I agree. Like it was got super complicated. Like again, like at the first, like I don't even like remember a majority of the like episodes.
Yeah.
Like certain episodes, they kind of just blend together. Like season 1, I remember like certain episodes. Season 1, I remember that episode where they fight the white whale. And the next episode after they do that, I remember the episode when he beat Beetlejuice or whatever his name is. I'm gonna call it Beetlejuice. But in this season, it just kind of feels like stuff just kind of happens and it all clumps together, and he gets in jail.
Yeah.
And he gets out of jail, and Roswell says this thing. And it's like, oh shoot, he knew that, and then it's like, oh wait, did he know that? He did know that, right? Oh wait a second. Oh, he did.
And then
but
I
wait
feel
a
like
second.
I should be taking notes. I should have a
Yeah.
notebook open, and I should just write. I should write in the notebook every single thing we learn each episode.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll put tabs in the notebook so I can go reference those things when they come up later.
It's like a freaking. It's like I should make a freaking game character thing. Like just write down a character and then put on all the info that we
Yeah.
gathered on that character and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's
like
very hard to remember all of the information and then recall it when you need to know that when it's referenced.
Yeah, and again, they put so many guns on the wall. Like literally in the first episode, there's two more what are they called? Like apostles or
Yeah.
whatever.
Oh
or
yeah,
thingies.
I totally
They
forgot
never show
about
up.
that.
Yeah,
they never
just
show
never
up again. And the thing
They
with
literally
Rem,
appear.
there's so
they-
much
they-
setup, and I don't think that's even a setup for part 2. That feels like a setup for part 3 or a season 4 or something. Like that
Yeah.
doesn't even feel like it has anything to do with what's going on in this season.
Yeah, like they introduce that one person who can eat people for the sake of taking Rem out of the equation.
Yeah. But I'm sure those people are going to show up later, and they have to get Rem back. So somehow that stuff's going to return. But it doesn't. I don't think it's going to return in part 2, because right now there's just so much stuff that needs to be resolved. Like
Yeah.
nothing got resolved.
Nothing got
then
resolved.
and even in the final episode, like they did fire some of the guns. I'll say that much. Like
They fired a few pistols here and
they
there.
fired a few pistols. They told us some information, but even in the last episode, they put a massive cannon on the wall. Like they put this massive bombshell, like that Rosewall sent the assassins, and that he has to choose one of the thingies and all this stuff, and he doesn't have qualifications for the trial, and actually Rosewall wants him to go seek echidna, and Rosewall is acting like he knows echidna and all this stuff, and they put all this stuff, and then the very last episode too. The first episode of part 2 should just be like a massive an
dump.
exposition dump telling us all of the stuff that we would have forgotten by then.
They should find the basement in Attack on Titan. They should just find the basement and dig all the information.
No. That'll just be retelling us all of the information that we just watched.
Yeah.
And then in the next episodes they could actually begin.
Yeah, but and another thing that I kind of that I noticed as well is this season that the characters took a backseat. Plot was a heavy focus, so that we barely got any Amelia, we barely got any we got a bit of Otto, but other than that we didn't really get much.
Yeah,
we kind of got some Echidna, but even then it was mostly her delivering more exposition.
Yeah, the witches are interesting, but they're not really real characters at this point. Even
They're
Echidna,
just kind of like
she's kind of just
archetypes.
a person who's there, and we don't really understand any of their motivations yet. Um, and we still don't understand the Witch of Envy's. I really was hoping we'd get some more information from the Witch of
Yeah,
Envy, but we really only got that she loves Subaru, but we already knew that. Um,
yeah,
and so I was really hoping we'd get more information there, but we still don't know anything about anyone's motivation. We still don't know Rosewall's motivation. We have no clue why he's doing what he's doing.
apparently he has to take out this dragon or something like in the first
Yeah, in
season.
the first
There's just
season
this
they said
random
something
line
about a
that talks
dragon,
about like him
and then I
taking out
read
this
some
dragon
lore,
or
so I
something.
kind of have some of it spoiled. But it's still just if you weren't paying attention to every single line, you would know absolutely nothing about his motivation. And even if you
Yeah,
were, you'd know very little.
and again, like sometimes some of the a lot of times this happened in the season. Like Subaru would learn something new. Like for example, like in this latest episode, he would learn, oh yeah, you don't have to take it on all yourself. But then we launch into immediately, oh yeah, Rosewall's actually sent that stuff like that, and it's like, well, we haven't gotten him actually putting some of this like good like lessons learned into use. He just
Yeah.
gets another wrench thrown in. It's like, well,
Yeah,
wait,
there's so many wrenches.
so many wrenches, so many guns, so much stuff, and it's like, but we need to. Subaru was learning stuff still. And stuff
Yeah,
like that.
it's
So it's
every episode felt like how can we introduce more things that make it harder, which it just
yeah,
doesn't work cuz in the first season they always introduced a limited number of things that it felt like they could always be overcome or they were just way simpler. But in this season, there's just so many things. Like there's
yeah.
that one pink-haired girl or whatever. I totally
Oh
forgot
yeah,
about
she's
her,
like the
but she's
apostle of
like she's got
greed, and there's like a
duplicates
clone.
and there's a clone and there's a facility and it just got so crazy and like I guarantee I'm not going to remember any of that stuff when I start watching the second part. I'll
Yeah,
probably rewatch this season, but still it's it's too much.
yeah, it's a little bit too much information in 13 episodes
Yeah.
for me to kind of like process like what the heck's going on. Because like, okay, yeah, they introduced the white whale. You got to take out the white whale. In this, they introduced the white rabbits, but you don't. They don't. We don't take them out.
They
Like
introduce these
literally, they
rabbits, and
introduced
we
the
only see
rabbits.
them twice, and then they never appear again.
Yeah, they introduced the rabbits. They're like, oh yeah, you beat the rabbits by collecting a huge ball of magic, and then you could probably take them out. But that never happens. They're just like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, that's how you beat them.
but
All right, we'll save that for later.
they dedicated tons of time to these rabbits, but there's also all this other stuff like the mansion. That's a huge thing. Now he can't do the trial. Like, what is Rosewall's motivation? There's too
There's
much to
literally a
keep track
girl
of.
in the village. There's a little girl in the village who turns out to be a
Oh yeah,
freaking
I
witch.
totally forgot about that. And
Beatrice
the
has to
stuff
find
with
that person
Beatrice.
who.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Beatrice has
totally
to find
forgot
that one
about that
person.
because there's so much going on.
And apparently Beatrice does have the gospel and it tells what he's going to do, but at the same time Rosewall actually has it, and Rosewall has this resolve that he's like, if you want to be like me, do all this stuff, blah blah blah.
There's
It's like,
tons of
what's happening?
exposition. There's tons of
Like,
exposition about all these things and like the gospel has two names and it wasn't a perfected gospel. Do we really need to know that? I think I would rather learn about the plot.
yeah, yeah. And, there's barely any Amelia, the person we're supposed to try and care about these characters, but when we're getting so much exposition to learn from them, it's hard to see them as characters. It's just we
But
see them as
yeah,
objectives.
I
It's
was
like,
when
okay,
I heard
he has
about this
objective.
season, I heard that they were going to develop Amelia more, which I thought would be really good. But
Me too.
Amelia took a backseat to all these other things that are happening. All of the characters did, except for
Hmm.
Subaru. He got some development, but at the same time, it didn't really feel like his development went anywhere. It was just
No.
kind of like he got development, but then we never got to see how that affected his actions.
Like I said, like we learned that he was like, oh, he finally learned not to take it all himself. But then they threw in another wrench. It's like, oh yeah, Roswell's actually sent them on the mansion. It's like, oh great.
I felt that
And
the
then like,
tone was a bit jarring too. We went from this emotional moment and then immediately to this plot thing.
yeah, which I think like that could kind of work. Like, well, there's good tone shifts. Like we're up, like for example, in Steins Gate, there's like you're in the house, you're with the microwave, you have the time machine, and then boom, they come and they kill someone. You're like, oh shoot, this is getting real. That's
Yeah.
done well. But in this, it just feels like abrupt. It's like, oh shit, your character development. Oh, we got to get to this plot stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a little bit jarring. And yeah, like again, they didn't really. I said they turned all like the characters we tried to care about into like objectives. Like,
Yeah.
okay, we gotta save Amelia. We gotta save this objective. We gotta get to that house. We gotta do this thing. We gotta get this objective
It's
done.
kind of like when you play COD 4. No one plays COD 4 and actually understands why they're doing anything. They don't care about the story unless you're, for some reason you do. But if you play, I'm gonna offend so many people. If you play COD 4, you're just looking for the next objective, and you
Yeah,
just
you're
do
just
it.
trying to find the next building that has the code to the thing.
Yeah, and you got to press X on your controller, and that's what
You gotta-
Subaru's doing. He's going around pressing X on his controller in a bunch of different buildings.
And being teleported to random places, learning more information about the plot and stuff. And again, like there's the trial with like his
Information
parents.
overload.
Yeah,
There's
So
not
it's
enough balance between the plot and the characters, and the information is like, it's really interesting. I really like the information. I really like the world building in this show. I think it's interesting, but there's so much, and there's not enough balance given between that and the characters.
And like there's still the royal selection that we have to finish.
Oh
like
my
the royal
goodness.
selection hasn't even happened.
Dude, there's all that stuff that happened at the end of season 1 that is just
That, like,
not gonna be
it's
like
suggested that we're gonna-
it's gonna be like
Yeah.
4 seasons down the line or something, because there's so many
Yeah.
things they have to solve.
It's like it's like they were like suggesting, all right, the royal selection is coming. But first we have the side quest, and I'm actually going to talk about this. This is kind of an issue with me, for me personally, is that the setting of the season. I'm not a fan. I'm just not a fan of the setting. I'm not a huge fan of the sanctuary.
Yeah, me neither. It wasn't
just
super
kinda-
interesting to me.
No, it's just kind of this place where there are villagers. It's just kind of this place, and it's apparently blocked off, but there are apparently elves, and there's this crystal that allows you to go through it.
Oh yeah,
At the
I
same
was
time,
so
you have to be of this
confused because I was
blood
constantly
and
like,
stuff.
the crystal, the what, huh? How is he doing
Yeah,
this?
there's
Wait,
the
how
elves,
is he
there's the
leaving?
blood,
Is there a way to
how's
leave?
he-
Is there another way to leave? I
but
didn't really know what was going on.
Yeah, me neither. And then Garfield is angry at him, but at the same time he's not. And
Oh
he's
yeah,
out of
that's
jail.
another thing. There's all that stuff with Garfield, and like at the end of the season, Echidna revealed there's some kind of like thing with Garfield. I don't even remember at this
And he's
point.
like an apostle of it.
Yeah,
like,
he's an apostle
greed,
of
apparently.
greed, and he doesn't want to go out. He's afraid of the outside world or something.
And I'm so confused. Like I feel like they're gonna reveal something like in the next season. They're gonna be like, it's this is the thing, and I'm like, oh wait, that happened. Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's cool. I found that out, but I mean, I kind of forgot about it. But yeah, the sanctuary just really isn't as interesting as a setting as like the
Yeah.
first season, where there's the mansion, which is pretty neat, and then there's the village, and then there's the area with the mob beasts, and then there was the castle and the city, and then there's the royal selection. Then there was that plains with the whale, which were all a lot more interesting than just kind of
Yeah,
like this
I think
grassy
that
village place.
the sanctuary is a decent setting, but
Yeah, it's not
because we stay in it so long, it gets old, and the other season moved locations way faster. And even in individual arcs, we could have Subaru moving between different areas, like with the white whale. He would wake up in the inn he was staying at, and then he would go to another location where he fought the white whale.
Yeah, you gotta have some varied settings, otherwise your audience is gonna get bored.
And even though they
Of
did
the
go
one
to the
setting.
mansion a bit, that's a setting we already know, so it's not as interesting.
And again, there's
And we
gosh,
spent
now that
tons
you
of
mentioned
time
the
there
mansion-
in the first season.
And now that you mentioned the mansion, there's even more stuff because there's Garfield's sister, and she can turn into
Oh,
this
oh
thing.
yeah.
And then
I
and then
totally forgot
apparently
about that.
Garfield, and then apparently Garfield's sister has something to do, has another agenda that she has to get
Everyone
done.
has an agenda.
Yeah, everybody has an agenda, and you're trying to keep track, and you're like, oh wait, did you have this agenda, or wait, are you evil? Are you good? Okay.
What
oh,
does
are
the
you?
crystal
I'm not
do
sure.
again? Was that some?
I don't-
Did I still don't
think-
realize. I don't understand what the crystal does.
Yeah, me
From my
neither. Like,
perspective, it seems like the crystal does whatever is important to the plot. Teleports
yeah,
Subaru to some place, knocks him out. Now it's
yeah, like
snowing. Like what?
yeah, it's snowing. There's the weird rabbits, and like again in this, like sometimes stuff just happened. Like he
Hmm.
went to this thing, and then boom, he gets teleported to this weird mystical place.
And it's
Like
interesting, but
you
the
don't
issue
know
with the
why.
rabbits is like I didn't feel there was any setup. Apparently, the rabbits are just in the sanctuary or something. They're just there,
Yeah,
and then they just kind of appear. Like they
yeah.
just
I said like he
appear,
just
and
kind of
now
gets
they're an issue.
teleported to places randomly,
Hmm.
and like gets teleported, and something weird and interesting happens. And it's interesting, but you don't know why it's happening. You're like, okay, this is neat, but
Yeah,
it's kind of random.
and the
And then you're
first
like,
season
oh,
always
okay,
had lots of moments where things kind of just happened, but they always kind of explained it later or developed on it. Although sometimes
yeah.
they didn't, like with the Puck's pact to destroy the world with Amelia, that was never explained. But I
Yeah.
assume we'll get.
Speaking of that, Puck is gone. Apparently. Oh my gosh. I
Oh
don't know
yeah,
what
I
the deal
totally
with him is.
forgot.
Amelia
Puck is
can't get a
gone.
hold of. Amelia can't get a hold of Puck for some reason, and Puck wants to look after that. And Subaru has to save Rem, and Subaru has to do all this stuff. But at the same time, the end of the season implies that it's so weird. Like the last episode had tons of contradicting stuff. Like they implied, all right, Subaru. They implied like he was in the area with the witches, and he was like, okay, I'm going to learn to not take it all on myself, and I'm going to learn that some sacrifices are necessary and stuff like that. And then Roswell's like, yeah, if you don't get it right, I'm going to have to kill you or something like that. He's like,
Yeah.
Roswell's like, yeah, but you have to do it over and over. It's like, wait, I thought.
And
It's
then
just
and
really
this
confusing.
his character seems like it lapses back to where he wants to save everyone again.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like he wants to save everyone again, and like, but at the same time, he just said that he doesn't want to die anymore. But then he's like, "Oh yeah, actually, I'm going to need you to die again." And it's like, but it's just I'm just kind of frustrated. I mean, even though we kind of trashed on the season, I still liked it. It's good. The characters
Yeah.
are good. It's interesting.
I thought it was. Really liked it. I liked it more than Sam. I thought it was really good, and even though the characters are less of a focus, they're still good. And there's the great
Mm-hmm.
episode with Subaru's parents,
Yeah, I love
um,
that episode. That
and
episode was really
all
great.
of the world building and lore. I think is really interesting, and I want to know more. I mean,
Yeah,
I suppose it accomplished its goal as a setup in that it made me want to know more, and I want to figure out how he's gonna get through this situation because
but they set up too much
there is
stuff.
so much insane stuff he has to do to get through all of these objectives. There's so much stuff, and I don't know how
Yeah,
he's gonna
there's
do it.
so much stuff,
That's
and
what I
like,
want to know.
yeah, even because, like I said, I'm gonna bring back Attack on Titan. Like Attack on Titan, there's a clear goal. All right, he has to get to the basement. All right, like there was maybe a minor like thing here or there. It's like, oh shoot, he has to go save. He's getting kidnapped and he has to find out about the royal family. But then he finds the basement, and the basement reveals everything. And you're like, okay, that's a clear objective. He got to the basement, but it's like as if they were like, oh yeah, Aaron has to go to the basement, and he has to go check on his mom, who's apparently alive, and he has to go check out this one place, and he has to go check out this other person's basement who actually previously died. And it's like they introduced like 5,000 basements that Subaru
Yeah,
has to investigate. But yeah, it's still interesting. Like I really like the stuff with the different witches. I want to know
yeah. The
what's
witches
going
are
on with
really
them.
interesting.
Yeah, I want to
Even
want
though
to
I
know what's
don't
going on with
understand
them.
any of their motivations or
Yeah,
anything about them, they're still
they're
really
still
interesting.
interesting. The characters are good. It's competently written. The designs are pretty neat and stuff. Like I like
Yeah.
the part where Garfield like turns into like they can turn into like those beasts or whatever, and they have to fight off the witch or whatever and stuff like that. And we got some more brutal Subaru kills and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But sadly though, I still am gonna have to give the season a 1 because Rem wasn't in it. I'm
Oh
sorry.
yeah.
I just
Guys,
have
Rem
to.
wasn't in it. I know.
Oh no. I mean,
Rem.
actually, I know I'm actually gonna be kind of serious. Like, it is kind of sad to not have Rem in it because Rem is probably the most developed character along with
I do
Subaru, and
agree.
then we just kind of kick her out of the way, and it's like it's a more developed character. So
But we
hopefully
could
next season,
we could have developed Amelia more, but it kind of just went to the background.
yeah.
I
So
was
I
that
hope
was what I
that
was hoping. I was hoping that Amelia would take the place of Rem and rightfully earn her spot as Subaru's lover. But no, she kind of just was in the background.
and like Subaru is constantly like, oh, you actually like me, and then she's like, what? And she's like, oh man, and then she's like, and it's kind of strange and awkward, and Amelia is just kind of there to not pass the trial.
Yeah.
That's just what it feels
She's
like.
just
But
there to not pass the trial. And
I hope.
I was so hopeful at the end of the season. I was like, maybe Subaru will finally complete the trial, and we can at least complete one of the goals. But he didn't
Yeah, me
even do
too.
that because his qualification got taken away.
Yeah, and I was like, and I was thinking either that, or I was thinking like because they mentioned they were like, okay, um, you don't have to take it all on yourself, and I was like, okay, Subaru, what Subaru's gonna do, and then like they were talking about this, they hammered this in, like Amelia, you're doing what's best for you, not what's best for Amelia, and blah blah blah. So I was like, okay, he's gonna go back there, he's gonna be like, I love you, Amelia, you're gonna do this, and Amelia's gonna pass the trials, and then there you go, and then no, it's like, oh yeah, Roswell actually did this thing, and I'm like, but what we need what?
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that's all I have to say. I mean, I'm excited for the next part two of the season. I'm hoping that part two of next season is fully devoted to answering our questions
Yeah, and solving
developing the
all of these
characters
plot
more.
threads and stuff. But
Yeah,
even then, there's so many things they have to solve, and there's so many questions they need to answer that I don't even know if there's going to be time for developing the characters.
that's what I'm saying
Although I have
too.
a
I'm like,
feeling that it might focus on instead of or it might focus on developing the characters and finishing the stuff and leave the questions for later. But
yeah,
if it
I
has,
hope so.
I'm hoping it has more episodes. That would be nice.
Me
But
too,
I
but
have a
probably
feeling it
not.
won't. Yeah.
I'm feeling it'll be 13. I really hope that they spend this next season maybe accomplishing maybe like maybe accomplishing like one or two objectives with a lot of character development while
Hmm.
accomplishing those objectives. Like get Amelia to maybe bring Puck back and find out what the heck's what going on with the mansion and Beatrice and the lady and the little girl in the village and stuff like that, and maybe answer at least a few things while also developing the characters. So
Oh,
that's just what I'm
wait.
hopeful
I wanted
for.
to bring up the stuff with Beatrice in the mansion. That was the weakest part of the season for me. I don't know if
Yeah,
it's the
me
same
too.
for you, but I
It was.
wasn't really that interested or invested in Beatrice's character and that stuff.
No, she was just kind of rude.
And that stuff kind of just appeared out of nowhere with that witch girl from the village.
Yeah,
And
like she's just like, oh yeah, I'm actually evil. And it's like,
yeah,
okay.
I think that Beatrice would require a lot more development to work in
Hmm.
that role as a character with a main focus like that.
Yeah, like in my opinion, it kind of reminds me like her character is kind of like Ymir from Attack on Titan, kind of just a selfish girl who
Mm-hmm.
can be kind of rude, and then it's like, oh yeah, turns out she's actually really sad and she
Yeah,
wants to be freed, and it's like, oh, okay. And then they were like baiting that uh Ekidon and Kaida or whatever is actually evil, but then she might not be. Question
Echidna.
mark? I don't know. Yeah, Echidna.
Uh, yeah.
I guess
I
she
don't think
is,
she's
but maybe
evil,
she
but she's
isn't.
like
But
she's trying to use the situation for her advantage, even though she's not
yeah,
really evil. She's kind of just like neutral. I don't know.
I don't know.
That
That's
seems
just
like a lot of the witches are like that, because
yeah.
they all seem really like their motivations. We don't understand their motivations at all.
Yeah. So yeah, that's our thoughts. Do you have anything else you want to bring up?
No,
I don't. That's our thoughts on ReZero. I don't know. That's the season. ReZero. I don't know what's happening.
ReZero, I don't know what's happening.
ReZero to season two. Again, we kind of bashed it, but we just kind of felt like we kind of needed to talk about that because, like, I think on my anime list it has a higher rating than the first season. I'm not 100%
Yeah,
sure, but I'm pretty
I
sure it
think it
does.
does. And there's lots of people who are saying the first season was no masterpiece, but this one will be great. But I don't really
Yeah,
think it's that great.
yeah, me neither. So we're hoping the next part is good. We're hoping for the best. We have to wait a whole another year.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we have some other anime coming that'll hold us over. But thanks for watching. If you liked it, if you like ReZero, like, subscribe. We might do some other ReZero stuff.
Mm-hmm. In a year, when something comes out.
Yeah, in a year when something actually happens, we'll make some more we'll make some videos, top 10 facts you didn't know about REM, something like that. But no, I'm just joking.
Top
We're not. We're probably not going to make that. But
Subaru and the Witch Harem. Canon.
top canon. Top 10 Echidna fan arts.
Yeah.
But no, okay, yeah.
Echidna
We hope you like
Dojo.
the video. We hope you liked the video. If you liked it, subscribe. I said all this stuff. But yeah, have a good one. Bye.
Bye.